All right, so Mortdog released the patch notes a little bit later, but actually, I don't want to watch this on one. I'll watch this on 1.0.
Hey everybody, Riot Mort here with the patch 14.19 rundown. Sorry it's a little late. I'm doing this from the Riot campus, hiding in a secret little room, making sure you guys get this. But yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely in the middle of nowhere.
Patch 14.18 was our big rework. Some things landed pretty well. Some things did not. Some balance a little off. Certainly, we've seen it being a very fairy meta. But we have some changes here. Generally, it's going to be small patches from here on out, so don't expect any like crazy reworks or big things like that. This is mostly just focused on balance changes, trying to get the meta into the best spot it can as we enter the back half of the set.
Okay.
So let's jump right in. On the trait side, Fairy definitely being a big thing that we've got to look at here.
That's a good one.
Basically, the crown is going to be hit pretty hard here. The crown, the healing and shielding that it amps up is going to go from 35% to 25%.
Excellent.
And then the amount of healing that you get from the queen is going to go from 15% to 12%.
Excellent.
Hopefully, this brings down the power of how much that Callista is keeping the Rakan alive. And so hopefully that gets Fairy in a better spot.
It's a lot of power nerf. Like 10% off of 35 is a lot. It's not exactly a third, but you know, it's a lot of healing and shielding, which ends up being like the thing about Rakan is that this being so high means that he's likely to cast again, which means that he gets more value off of it, which means he gets more healing. So it's just all like one giant recursive feedback loop. So this is just nice. Now I think I was told that they didn't actually nerf Rakan ahead of time, so I got a little bit of a spoiler on this patch notes rundown. But this in itself is the main problem. It's the item is way too good. It was so good that you actually just stopped building into Fairy beyond 5 Fairy. Like you would just actually play 5 instead of 7 Fairy, and it was wrong to play 7 Fairy because all that mattered was just straight up the item. So I think they've correctly identified that.
Frost. We're going to be making the Frost explosions do a bit less base damage. This is a bit of a nerf to 7 and 9. But we don't really want to nerf 9. This is mostly focused around 7 Frost. So 9 is going to get 10 more AD and AP to sort of help it get to that point first. So 90 AD and AP at 9 should keep 9 Frost pretty good.
Okay.
But again, this is mostly focused around nerfing 7 Frost.
Okay, so this is like stage damage or what? Like the explosion damage? I actually don't know the range. I should probably know this. I can't believe I played 2 months of the set and I don't even know some of these aspects of the traits. I guess that's just TFT in a nutshell. There's too many like interactions to know. But either way, 7 Frost was also really good. Anyone who got like Winter is Coming and then you get hit 7 Frost early because you have a Wandering Trainer or Spatula, you just completely snowball.
On the Honeymancy side, it's pretty close here, but we're nerfing the damage dealt from 3 Honeymancy, but actually buffing it at 7, but specifically the damage done. But nerfing the damage taken at 7. So this is less, your blitz, your very tanky blitz just doing a ton of damage by standing there. So you're going to get less damage from just standing there and more damage from damage done. Overall, very slight nerf to 3. Should be power neutral to slight nerf to 7 is the goal. All right, Mage 10.
Okay,
pretty happy with this. Fun new.
Real quick, before we continue, I need to show you guys a clip I saw today. This is a clip that someone played. They're playing mobile. They're playing 7 Honeymancy, Zap Attack, Blitzcrank with 6 Vanguard shields up. And they're going up against 10 Eldritch. 10 Eldritch. Big Stormbringer comes in. AoEs, kills the entire board, which is normally like, okay, it's game over, right? Blitzcrank with Light Shield Crest, Forbidden Idol, and Intervening Locket is literally immortal. 7 Honeymancy, 6 Vanguard, and just actually beats 10 Eldritch by like a lot. It's full. It's full health. Anyways, yeah, I think they could stand to nerf that a little bit. I was, because I always tell you guys like 10 Eldritch is the best thing in the game. What can beat it? It turns out Blitz 3. It turns out Blitz 3 can beat it.
Prismatic could still be a little more powerful, so we're amping up the damage they do all the way up to 200%. So
they hit
10 Mage, if you hit
too.
it, should be very strong.
Yeah.
Sugarcraft, definitely in a rough spot right now on live. You're going to see some other changes to the champions as well, so we didn't want to overbuff the trait, but for now it's going to get 50 of its HP back at 6. So if you get 6 Sugarcraft, that extra HP should help them stay alive.
Good, good.
Warrior, this is the 4-piece damage amp, and Omnivamp will go from 18% to 20%. There's some other changes with Warriors as well, so bear with me here, but small buff to just the 4-piece of the trait.
Okay. So good changes. I mean, 10 Mage basically wins anyways, but I'm guessing they hit situations where 10 Mage just felt like underwhelming, and that's fine. Like 10 Mage should win. It's so hard to hit. So hard to hit. This is good. I heard they're changing Gwen as well, so this will be hopefully making Sugarcraft less of a meme trait. It's terrible right now. One of the worst traits in the game possible. And then this makes the mid game of Warrior a lot better. Right now, Warrior you just don't play unless you hit 6. So this makes a lot more sense. And it's like a 10% buff, but it's sizable because Warrior really needs both the damage and the Omnivamp, so it's
Yours as well, so bear with me here, but small buff to just the 4-piece of the trait. And then Eldridge. Eldridge is going to get some generally meant to be buffs here. The 3-piece is going to be doing a little more base AD, but less spell damage. And then the HP will scale up. So basically 3-piece should be better in the early game, especially just kind of being a health sponge.
okay.
The 5-piece is getting its health up at pretty much every stage, but especially in 4 and 5.
Okay.
Or excuse me, 5 and 6.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a pretty big Eldridge. And then the 7 is going to be having more damage and then more late game scaling as well. So overall, hoping to get Eldridge to be a better trait.
Okay. And that's it for traits. I'm surprised they didn't nerf like 6 Blaster. I think that trait's a little bit too good just for a +1. I actually think a lot of their like +1 6 pieces, like 6 Chronos, 6 Blaster, is also like a touch too strong. 6 Scholar. Like I think they could use a little bit of love. Or sorry, a little bit of hate. I guess that's the opposite of love. Because they're kind of too powerful. But Eldritch is generally in need of a buff. So they're making it 3 better early, which is good because these days I just don't hold Eldritch units. Like I don't have any reason to play it early game. And then stage 5 and 6 should be better, which is good because it's so silly that you hit 7 Eldritch and then you just start losing at the end of stage 4 and then you lose streak stage 5 for the rest of the game. it's just silly.
Game scaling as well. So overall, hoping to get Eldridge to be a better trait. All right, on the champion side, Seraphine and Soraka have been the 2 worst 1 costs. They're both mages. Poor Seraphine, she's even part of Fairy, but right now Fairy kind of being propped up by the Callista and Rakan. So Seraphine's going to get some more damage so that she can, spike that backline and do more there.
Holy!
Soraka's
wait a second. Remember, she's a mage. She casts twice.
Going to be able to cast more often. This is a pretty big buff for Soraka, so hopefully this helps both Sugarcraft and Mage in the early game, so you can play her. And she was already, can do okay, but fell off really quick, so we'll see if this makes a difference.
Holy cow.
Twitch, not really a change, just changing its class to attack caster. Mostly affects things like recommended items and lucky gloves.
Yep.
Ziggs, very small 5% nerf here. It's just going to lose that little bit of damage here because Ziggs kind of being one of the best 1 costs and having good traits as well. So small nerf to Ziggs.
Okay, dude, Mort's blitzing through it. He probably is tired / got a lot of stuff to do. Soraka, I think okay, so everyone knows that Seraphine's actually quite a good item holder early, especially back when Fairy was a 2-piece. So no surprise there. This is probably because in general right now, like with Seraphine and mages, they just underperform. Like that's largely because Veigar was underperforming, Nami was underperforming, Nora got nerfed, so like mages wasn't part of it. And so the data probably looked really bad on Seraphine, and you don't even want to play her in the Fairy line. She doesn't even hold items very well. You would like Rage Blade Seraphine, but move it to Tristana as soon as possible. I think Soraka is actually really underrated. I actually think both Seraphine and Soraka are just very good early game holders if you have the spot for them. But Soraka with 10 mana, remember she like heals as well, so it could be one of those things where Soraka becomes really snowbally on stage 2.
Kind of being one of the best 1 costs and having good traits as well, so small nerf to Ziggs. Ahri, very tiny buff here. She's just going to get a little bit more of that Foxfire ability damage. So, little bit there. Nothing too crazy. Yes, I said.
Yeah, you have to be careful about buffing Ahri because of her Arcana scaling. So,
the line. Akali really kind of struggles. And we also are going to see some multicasters got some other nerfs coming up here. That's a pretty important one. But Akali in the early game really struggles to get those pyro stacks. So it's going to get a buff to her kunai damage to hopefully help out. Neela 3 has fallen off, just not really worth the payoff. So Neela
Yep.
3's spell is going to hit a little harder.
Yep.
And then Syndra, obviously we got to be careful we don't end up in the first world. Not that we ever will, since
Oh
the big
boy.
thing was the attack speed nerf, but giving
Oh
her
boy.
a bit of her spell damage back and her spell AoE damage back at base. So she's not quite as weak in the early game. And remember, these are combined with the Eldritch changes. So hopefully Eldritch Syndra can have a place in the meta.
Someone said that this is where Syndra's numbers were at the beginning of the set. Because they buffed, this is, I think, the third patch now they've buffed Syndra. Because they, like, super nerfed her. Or am I misunderstanding? Maybe they meant about a different unit, but either way, it's just, like, slowly but surely. They buffed 3 Eldritch. They buffed Incanters in the previous patches, right? They're buffing around mages because Syndra was played in the mages core. Now you open, what? You open Seraphine, Soraka, Galio, and then that's like a core that can help also, help you with Syndra to get to the mage Syndra. We'll see. I don't know if it's actually good. It's just interesting to think about. They nerfed Akali with Neela a little bit preemptively, I remember, like a patch or two ago, so this makes sense. There's a little bit kind of weak. And Warriors in general, like, yeah, you don't really play it. And the worst part about Warriors this past patch was that every fairy player just held Katarina, and they weren't even trying to grief you. So, like, if you... the anchor midpoint of Warrior comps was Katarina. You would reroll for Akali, Neela, and Kat, or you'd play, like, Kat plus Gwen Fiora or something like that. And you just couldn't hit anymore because all the fairy players were taking it.
Ezreal kind of carrying the blaster comp a bit, doing pretty well here, although that's mostly shifted to Varus at this point. But Ezreal hits pretty hard as well, so going to lose 5 AD. Remember, that's base AD, so that's spell, everything else.
Big deal.
About an 8% nerf. Hecarim, the beast of 3 costs, is going to get a nerf here. So Hecarim is going to be doing a lot less cleave damage here, going from 140 to 125 at, 1 and 2 star. So hopefully a Hecarim 2 doesn't just carry you throughout the entire game anymore.
I mean, it's pretty big as well. Like, Hecarim 3's 80 cleave does less than Hecarim 1. Which actually goes to show you a little... Yeah, it's a little nuts. It was a little nuts. Especially if you got the double gauge on him to stack the AD and the cleave. Oh my god.
Jinx gets a small buff. Jinx is going to go from 100% AD during her spell to 110%. So during that spell, that should hit a bit harder. Again, Sugarcraft getting Soraka and Jinx, and one more you'll see later. Katarina gets a bit of a nerf here. Katarina surprisingly good in the mid game. And again, she's getting her damage nerfed, but Warrior's getting buffed a bit, so hopefully that helps put Katarina in about the same spot. Generally pretty fair here.
That's actually like a very subtle but good change. Katarina 3 actually low-key is quite unstoppable. Anyone who actually, like, it's Katarina 3 is as rare as Hecarim 3 in this current meta. Actually, I'm pretty sure Katarina is rarer than Hecarim right now. But anyone who actually goes up against Kat 3 knows that if she gets rolling, you can't actually stop her. So I think that's actually a very smart nerf because they buffed Warriors. And yeah, I actually think that's a good call. We're back.
Veigar 3 has kind of fallen off a bit, so Veigar 3's damage is going to kind of go back to what it was in 14-17. So if you're a mage fan or like that Veigar Vex comp, this should help. Remember, he did have the mana items nerfed since back then, so hopefully not quite as strong as before, but again, hopefully playable. And then Wukong is going to start off with 5 more armor and MR on his passive. That should put Wukong in the early game especially, even better than he is right now. Still not going to hit that same height that he was when it was Wukong 3, but, should help a bit. Okay,
okay, before we get to Gwen, I was looking for a tweet just now where Veigar's numbers have basically danced, and it's like 450, 425, back to 475, down to 425, up to 475. It's just funny because, like, every patch is like basically ticking up and down Veigar 3's damage. So we'll see. I don't know how much this helps Wukong. And I actually think Wukong's lack of late game is what actually hampered a lot of like mid game problems, because like certain builds like Jinx and Bard and everything like that are actually quite good. Like Jinx is actually not the worst carry, even though she's a little bit on the weaker side, because Wukong was kind of weak and the front line that you would play with her was kind of inconsistent. And then Bard is actually, I think the secret's out. Bard is actually quite a good 3-cost carry It's just that Wukong is your natural front line for that because you play Preserver Wukong. It's also bad. So we'll see, though. I think maybe they don't want to go overly crazy because then if they make Wukong generically good outside of that, then in his optimal package, he might be too good.
Gwen, we shipped an update to the dash logic and pretty clearly was not liked by the majority, and I think it's appropriate. Giovanni and I talked about this, and the big thing that we think was a miss here was it really changed how you played the champion, which we really shouldn't be doing mid-set. You know, Bloodthirster became a bad item on her because she played so safe.
Right.
So we're not changing it back fully, but should be a big improvement here because now Gwen will dash to the hex that would hit the most total targets first. So she's going to be aggressive. She's going to try to hit the most targets while still aimed at her current target. And then if there's a tie, we'll tie break to the hex distant from the most enemies. So again, she should be much more aggressive now. This should be more the Gwen you're used to. You know, blue buff, Bloodthirster, that kind of item should be good. If her current target is out of her base dash range of 3 hexes, she'll now dash the shortest distance to reach them rather than gaining infinite dash range. And again, just clean up. Should be a big improvement, but keep us honest. If it's not, let us know. From what we tested, this is a buff pretty heavily. So we did nerf the snip damage a little bit to make up for it. But Gwen should be the Gwen you were used to with the aggro power.
Okay, so the reason why it's a big buff for people to understand is because now she can hit multiple targets. Before, she would always dash the furthest back and snip. She was basically Marth from Smash Bros. She would like dash back just to tipper you and tipper one champion. That's it. And then like she would do that very slowly and try to keep safety. But like that ended up creating some dynamics where Gwen just wasn't killing things fast enough. And it would cost you fights because she would dash away to tipper, and then like if she just snipped regular, she would kill like a clumped backline, but she takes too much damage because there's like a Tristana 1 with a Rage Blade. You know what I mean? Like Tristana shoots her back, she dashes back, snips 1, and then Tristana 1's just shooting her and she just dies. But it's so stupid. So like so Gwen actually got a reverse lobotomy, and they had to nerf some of the first snip damage.
That's it for 4 costs. On the 5 cost side, Briar, we fixed a bug for a long time where she was unstoppable in her frenzied form. That was never supposed to be the case, so that is a nerf to Briar. Briar will be less powerful.
Oh, I thought that was actually like... Okay, I actually thought it was the opposite. I thought they bug fixed that. Like, oh, no wonder... Like, Briar is so much better now because she's unstoppable. I thought that was like them fixing Briar. That's actually a bug the opposite way. Oh, I see. I don't know. Like, it's just like Briar's amazing now. But yeah, okay. No change to Varus. Oh, you're right, actually. Just skip past the 4 costs. There's no Briar now. Or sorry, there's no Varus nerfs. And they nerfed Blaster either. All right, meet 2020 Varus. Meet 2020 Varus Gwen.
That was never supposed to be the case, so that is a nerf to Briar. Briar will be less powerful. Morgana ended up doing a bit too much true damage. We're pretty happy with her power level, but when she does that much true damage, especially at 2-star, it's a bit much. So just having that happen a little less often.
She was the one counter to Rakan, the true damage. It was really, really helpful because Rakan would get to 33 and she would true damage it. So.
And then Nora is going to be able to cast more often as well. This is going to help, Portal Cap and Mage Cap at the absolute end game, so that if you get that Nora 2, she is a really strong carry. Now, again, in case you're wondering, I'm sure a lot of you are going, well, where's the Callista or Rakan changes? Again, the hope here is that the Queen Fairy change kind of deals with that and covers most of that. If not, we'll continue further. On the item side, mostly Radiant and support stuff here. The support item, Moonstone Renewer, a little too strong early and late, honestly, so getting nerfed. And then on the Radiant side, Demon Slayer, Equinox, Rosethorn Vest, Sunlight Cape, and Willbreaker, all getting various buffs, kind of the weakest Radiant items right now. So making sure that they get their quality and get them back up. Sort of incorrectly nerfed previously.
That's a lot.
So hopefully this makes them desirable again.
So the issue with Radiant items, we talked about this on TFT Study Hall. The difficulty with Radiant items is that just in general, damage scales much better than solo tanking. Like, you'd rather have like amplification and multiplication on your carry than protecting one unit on your tank, because especially if they like AoE, who cares about Rosethorn Vest on a tank if Varus shoots your backline and kills your backline damage? Because then it doesn't really matter if you have 7% more health. So like radiant items in general for defensive stuff is always a little bit on the like less ideal side. But I mean, it's a lot of extra stats. So maybe it just has too much stats and then just like snowballs early game tempo. Who knows? Like maybe you rip things like this more often stage 2 off radiant relics. I'm not sure.
On the augment side, flexible, we fixed a pretty bad bug with flexible, which is that it didn't used to grant the health on away boards. That's been fixed, but obviously that's going to make it more powerful. So we did nerf the HP per emblem from 40 to 30. On the hero augment side, definitely.
Flexible didn't give health on away boards? It was that good despite it not even working half the time. What?
Man, I'm getting more dogged again.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I didn't know that.
Definitely nerfed them pretty hard. A lot of them went down in power pretty heavily.
Holy.
So high horsepower is going to get a small buff in between where it was and now.
Oh no.
Spider Queen, same thing.
Hero
and
augment
Witchy
meta.
Wallop, same thing. So all of those hero augments going to get a little bit of not quite where they were before, but hopefully bringing them back up slowly. Item ladder has been re-enabled. That's a fun augment. I like that one. So hopefully the bugs with that have been fixed. Pillar of Flame gets a buff, and it looks like a small buff, but bear with me when we get to the bug section. You'll see that Pillar of Flame is getting even more help.
Oh.
But we also don't want to go too crazy and have it be an S tier augment, so got to be cautious here.
Yep.
Royal Guard, this augment has been good even when Fairy was not, so now that Fairy is, it's very, very good, so nerfing that down to 1%.
True.
Winter is coming, very good Winter Frost augment, so that's getting nerfed. The health and attack speed go down. And then Zap Attack will now get the Zap every 5 seconds instead of every 4. So a small nerf for Zap Attack. Those Blitzcranks do a lot of damage.
So yeah, overall, like, they're just making it so clicking a hero augment isn't a 4.9. So slight buffs, which is fine. Like, I personally think if you have a spot, you should have a spot for a hero augment. Let's say you have 5 poppies and you click this and you natural poppy 3 on 2/2. In my opinion, that should be a top 4 because you like high rolled and you have like a good spot for it. I've been in situations where I did that and I went like 5th or 6th anyways, which is like crazy to think about. So like if you have a spot for it and it makes sense and you get to play into that power fantasy, good. It's not like you click it no matter what and then you top 4. That's dumb. I think this is fine. Pillar of Flame, I'm excited to see what they change. If you don't know what item ladder is, it's like item ladder gives you an item that changes every single round. It's a silver augment. Like one round it could be a bramble, next round it could be a last whisper, and the next round it could be a spark, and you just kind of like keep item opens and slam it.
On the charm side, quite a bit here. We have 2 new charms, pretty basic ones. The first one is Conjure Support, gain a support anvil for 25 gold. A little expensive, but if you can afford it, that's some permanent power for your board.
Yeah.
It doesn't require a Zareth.
Yeah.
And then Study Hard, which costs 1 gold. Really good on stage 3 and 4. You'll gain 2 XP for each Study Hard you've bought this game. So if you can manage to buy like 3 of them, you can get 6 XP, which is a pretty good boost. On the removal side, Desperate Plea. We tried it. We removed it. We tried it again a different way.
Yes.
This design space isn't working.
Yes.
We're just going to remove it. It will not be back this set.
Yes.
You know, for those of you that were able to cheat a placement or 2 with it, congrats. It's gone for now. And then finally, Conjure Pan and Conjure Spatula in the charm space. We're still seeing a bit too many emblems than what we'd like. And so having them here where you can sort of guarantee and play around it is a bit much. So we are going to remove these charms for now as we enter the back half of the set, leading you to have to get them from something like Conjure Emblem, or specifically, you know, from carousel drops and orb drops and stuff like that. But this will lower the amount of emblems that we're seeing in the game. Of all the
Okay, so I mean, this first of all, thank goodness, Desperate Plea. I just don't think it's the swing that feels. I feel like it just has so much net negative on TFT in terms of how the game ends. And I understand that there's an element of TFT that sometimes the game just swings the opposite direction. It's total BS, and it is what it is. And you tilt queue, and you get player engagement that way. But I just don't think Desperate Plea is healthy long term. It's just very frustrating because of the way it misaligns expectations, because of how hidden it is, because it's not exciting. Except for the player clicking it, I guess maybe. But even then, it's like I just don't like that design space for TFT currently. Having played games where you get like 1 extra life, like Ice Block and Hearthstone, I just don't think it should be in TFT personally. As for the Pan and Spatula, the game becomes less fun for sure. there's so many times where like you dream for the vertical and you're like, okay, but like what if I save up and spend 60 gold instead of leveling to 9? I roll down and I get Conjure Pain or Conjure Spatula. So the game becomes less fun, but it also has like less stupid stuff happening, which is you stand on, you let them cook, you get you get like the +2 emblems of your portal, and then all of a sudden you get Conjure Spatula and you get a third one somehow, you know, and then all of a sudden someone has like 9 frost at level 8. It's just like, it's like stupid. So there's a lot of less of that happening, which is good, but I will say the game is less fun when that happens.
The new charms, most of them landed in a pretty good spot, but Tremors in particular ended up being a bit more powerful than we'd hoped. I think at this point, Tremors is even better than the Dragon.
Yes.
So instead of
by
every
far.
8 seconds, it's going to be every 10 seconds. This will
Okay.
be a nerf to Tremors.
Good.
And then Lightning Strike and Meteor Storm have been enabled. Those were the cause of the bugs that happened at the start of the patch. You never expect where those bugs are going to be, but those are back. And then finally, bug fixes.
Wow.
As you can see, we spent some time focusing on this.
Okay.
Akali now uses her attacks enhanced properly when equipped with Runon's Hurricane and Hextech Gunblade.
Oh, they finally fixed that. Okay, guys, if you didn't know, if you put Hurricane or Gunblade on Akali, she would stun herself because she would like try to register an attack or something like that, but it would fail, so she would just stand there stunned. Oh, I can't believe they fixed that. Or rather, I can't believe it took this long for them to fix it, and I kind of forgot about it, and now, because I guess no one's really playing Akali primary, so yeah, we'll see. But sometimes you would put Thieves Gloves on Akali. Thieves Gloves on Akali was actually Wisp, because sometimes you would roll Hurricane and Gunblade. But yeah.
Briar, we already talked about here. Pillar of Flame will now cast at a further range target if no targets are in range, instead of casting near himself. That was a pretty bad bug.
Will now cast at a further range if no targets are in range. Oh, it would just fizzle? I see.
Fixed a bug where Pillar of Flame's augment would function inconsistently on away boards.
Okay.
So yeah, those two big bug fixes should hopefully help Pillar of Flame actually be playable.
There you go. That's big. That's
Yumi
big.
now properly grants attack damage instead of AP to AD casters like Varus and Ezreal. Draconic Mastery no longer counts
Whoa, what?
takedowns on PvE rounds. Fairy augments now correctly require the trait to
Wait.
be active.
Oh, I thought that was a feature. Wait a second. This is a big nerf to Draconic Mastery. So now it's like a 4.2 average, and now it's gonna like I thought that was intentional.
Activated to be shown on 3-2 and 4-2. Pillar of Flame requires Bastion activated to appear on 3-2.
Okay, this was troll. Sometimes you had nothing, and then you just get Pillar of Flame out of nowhere.
Fixed a number of bugs around 4-star units. For those of you that were actually able to get a 4-star unit, you may have noticed you couldn't like item remove or place items on them.
Yeah, I saw that.
Those should be fixed. What the Forgan Anger issues will no longer transform Tactician,
Anger.
Shield, or Cape. Fixed a Stage 5 plus carousel that was incorrectly offering 3 Tactician's Crowns and
thank
6
goodness,
other
man.
non-Tactician's items.
Oh,
Now, as
man.
before, the only carousel with Tactician's items is all Tactician's items. Sorry about that. That was an issue with that carousel. Really annoying.
Yeah, this happened in tournament multiple times. Apparently, we saw it once on stream. It's not a good look. 3 people who are just like in 3, 4, 5 get 3 tack crowns, and the person at first got a Quicksilver. Yeah, it was not fair.
The emblem variant for Arcana now counts Tactician's Cape and Shield twice, just like the Crown.
Okay.
Reforging a unit with all 3 different Tactician's items no longer returns nothing. Props to whoever found that one.
What?
Flexible, we already talked about. Wukong's shield duration with the spin to win augment is now correctly 2 seconds instead of 0.3 seconds.
Oh, that's a huge Wukong buff. Oh, shield duration was 0.3 seconds. Holy cow, that's a 6x buff. Okay, all right, huge bug.
So hopefully this helps spin to win. If not, we'll buff it further.
Yeah.
Mordekaiser with Mage Emblem is
Okay.
now monolocked for the correct duration.
Oh,
Sorry, you can't abuse Mage Mordekaiser anymore.
Okay.
Fix some interactions
That's a
between
nerf.
Over-Encumbered and the Polymorph Charm. Sorry, Dish Soap. And Jack Show, the
re-replay.
Protean tooltip now correctly indicates it gives 40 bonus AP in the back 2 rows. So
Replay truly the forgotten world champion. He apologized to Dish Soap, but not replay, man.
there you go. Small patch, some good stuff. Hopefully fixes some bugs and balances it even further. And again, this is the kind of patches you can expect for the rest of the set. We'll probably keep adding a couple charms, making some adjustments. Let us know how this patch feels, and we'll continue on. The other big thing to call out is our set revival goes live this patch. So if you're looking to play
Huh?
You know, the set revival for 5.5. Make sure you check that out. Especially check out the ranked system it's kind of got. It's a different take on ranked. I'm pretty excited to try that out. So let us know what you think of that.
But wait, Mort.
Should make playing those set revivals a little more fun now that there's actually some goals to achieve. So.
But like, what is there any website that has? Wait, what's this? Is there a website that has anything that can help me learn set 5.5 quickly? Wait a second, TFT Academy already has set 5 on their website. Holy shit! Look at that. Oh my god! With all these tips and augments and items and builds and recommendations and suggestions to never play, just never play this hero augment. This hero augment is the worst
Man, I'm
augment in the
getting
game.
more dogged again.
Death approaches. There's a Thresh hero augment where Thresh now pulls himself and empowers his next auto. Yeah, it averages a straight 5. I played it once and I went dead last. So yeah. Anyways, I had a lot of fun adventures. Set 5 is actually pretty fun. It also shows you how far TFT has come along the way. Dude, Nautilus 2 stuns for 4 seconds. Nautilus is a 2 cost. He's a 2 cost. He stuns for 4 seconds. What? Like, what is it even? What? You just can't play the game, man. You just can't play the game. He's a 2 cost. You just splash it into your board, and now you're just stunned for the rest of the game. Anyways, the design has come a very long way, but there's some really fun stuff. You should check it out.
Yeah. All right. There you go. That's the patch 14.19 rundown. There you go. As always, let us know what you think. Give us feedback, and we'll keep going. Yeah. So I'm going to get back to work because, yeah, I'm here at the office. So, all right. That's going to do it for me.
Thank you, Mort.
Until next time, take it easy.
Good job. Dude, Mort, he literally probably did this between meetings on his laptop. You can just tell because of the bad like light. He has like a whole home studio set up, and now he's at Riot doing some TFT things. But overall, thumbs up on the patch. I do think Varus is potentially going to be like the 4 cost on top, depending on how good Gwen is. We could also see, like, if you guys don't remember, but in the Varus comp, it used to be played with Gwen and Fiora before we started playing like some of the other stuff. It was like Varus Gwen because it ties with Bard or Rumble, it was like ways that you can kind of tie it in. So there were variations of it happening already. It's entirely possible we go back to it if Gwen ends up being really good. You play Gwen Varus duo. I'm not entirely sure though. Also, if Gwen's better, that means Fiora and Karma gets better, which means that Witchcraft gets better as well. So there's a lot of other like small subtle buffs to it.